Well, I wanted to do this live with you to talk about COVID shows, and I was going back and I'm putting all my Landon lives on Stitcher and all the podcast places
Sure.
right now. And yours was the first that I started with, so I thought it would be kind of fun to. And you know what's weird is I'm like, wow, it looks so different, and then it was like a year ago that I started this. It's weird to feel like we've been in this. This feels like a post-apocalyptic time. It's just weird.
Yes. Now you may know. I got to tell you one thing. I don't know what it is about when I sit here, but it gets really bright. So I've turned off. I have these side lights, but if it really gets dark in here, I'm gonna have to use those, which will make me a lot brighter than I am. Yeah, it feels. It's amazing. It's only a year, right?
Yeah. It's amazing to think of all the stuff that's been going on in just the past year and what the future holds. I was like, I hope this summer is not going to be, a pandemic summer, because I'd hate to see what that's like. And then I was like, wait a minute, that was last summer. We figured out what that would be like.
Losing track of my months are bad enough. Now losing track of my years.
So what has shows been like for you? Because after COVID hit, has it?
Are we recording it now?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Hi, my name is Joe Gandelman. Actually, after COVID, my shows were booked pretty heavily through March, and a whole summer booked at libraries, and some schools booked, and it was a big San Diego's oldest country club, biggest and oldest yacht club booked me for a special show, and I was really this was going to be a good summer. But then March 13th or 14th, when everything came down, everything canceled. I worked for this group that books me in libraries. They canceled all the library shows unless you had a recorded show, which I didn't have at that time. And so I wound up doing something for a camp based in Florida that really wasn't a lot of money, but I liked the idea of experimenting with the Zoom shows, which I absolutely love, because I can see the people's names, and I can say, what about that so and so, or turn the mic on, have them, if there's kids or adults, have it open, hear them laugh. So I love interacting on Zoom. It was a lot of fun. And they had me down for 2 shows a week. And again, the money was very negligible, but I liked what they were doing. I liked their game plan. And this company also had been doing party supplies, and their business was wiped out by COVID, or pretty much stalled. So what they did was they created this thing, trying to create with a real educational and business plan, a summer camp with a limited number of people that participated. So that was great. And I did some live shows for some, being Jewish, I'm Jewish, for some Orthodox Jewish groups in LA, which didn't use masks. I was a little worried about that. And then later they started to go into masks, and which thank God. But I did a lot of those shows. I did some birthday parties. I did an adult show. So I was doing spotty shows in and out. But largely most shows ended as of December.
Right.
And of course, the whole Christmas season was done. There's one client I've been doing shows for about 25 years in San Diego. And I walk over and she'll say, by the way, my son, who just had 2 kids, said he remembers your show and loves your show. And
wow, that is crazy.
And I have some real clients that use me every time. And of course, they all canceled. So what I'm doing now is I feel things are opening up. I have good intuition. I feel things are getting ready to slowly open up. So I actually have, I actually have a new postcard, which is my virtual shows postcard.
Here, we'll make you full screen show. Here.
See it? Now,
okay. Yeah, we can see it. Fantastic.
I'm not sending out to my full database, which is huge, but I'm sending it out. I got 500 printed, and I'm going to start with saying it's Jewish groups, youth groups, and just slowly go down on mailing this postcard and see if I get some response for it. So I get a sense that it's opening.
This is a very interesting thing, Joe, because where does it rest? Is it the performer's duty to make the audience feel that it's okay for him to be there and okay for these gatherings to occur? You said that things are kind of letting up. Where does it, and your experience with this whole situation, and I've done some COVID things, but in Texas it's totally different.
Right.
What is your take on that been?
Well, if they want me there and they've invited me, I mean, I did something right after COVID hit, and this is a really a beautiful, wonderful event. It was for a Halloween pumpkin patch, a huge one up in Southern California. I mean, really big. And they had a world-class stage. They had, but the people were supposed to sit a certain distance. Of course, you wore the mask and everything. They kept people away from me, so I didn't have to wear a mask when I performed.
Sure.
Sufficiently, really far away in an outdoor show. On the other hand, Landon, so I've done those shows, but I've also done a couple. I went to do one show after COVID, what was it, November after COVID hit. It was a really great audience, a 60th birth, 70th birthday party show, family show. It really up in the high hills of Jahamul. It was great. And this little boy, 5 years old, says, "You don't need a mask. This is our house. Don't worry about it." I was thinking, great. And I tried to wear my mask, and I didn't fit in with the mask. And finally, because I was a distance away, I did the show without the mask. But they weren't wearing any masks at all. And I didn't like that. Now, when I did have COVID, which was not fun, and it took 6 weeks full recuperation. And I've had a couple of things since then in LA.
When did you have COVID? When did that hit you? And
hit me the day after Christmas.
Okay.
And I have a lung condition. I have close to asthma. So, I mean, my sister and I talked about this. I would not last a week if I got it with my lungs because it's near asthma. This cough can derail me for six. This phone, I need to put this on. Well, let me just turn this off here. I'm going to turn my phone off. Sorry about that, but I don't want it to be buzzing. I don't want notifications. All right. So I was lucky, and I hit me the day after Christmas. And it started as a cough and a terrible headache. And my doctor thought it was my usual near asthmatic condition. I have an inhaler and all these pills I take. And it's a bad cough. And then only on the 6th of January, when I had a fill-in doctor, he thought that I had bronchitis, but also suggested I got a test. And he called me the next day and said, "This is Dr. Chan. Dr. Chan, that antibiotic was so good. I feel so much better. Did you see your test results?" I said, "Not yet." He said, "I thought so. Joe, you tested positive." And I went, "Oh my God." And he said, and I said, "I got this a day after Christmas." He said, "Oh, really? Well, you're beyond the infection point. You're clear." But I mean, I still have some symptoms. And now I'm left with a little bit of a minor thing on my taste. I can taste most things, but it's a little bit off. And I do get fatigue in the afternoon where I have to lie down. So this thing lasted 6 weeks.
So did you have any like any virtual shows or anything scheduled during that period that you had to like call off?
No, I called everything off. I was supposed to be actually going and doing a virtual show for somebody. Go to a live show. And I told her that I don't think I should show up and do your show because I'm still coughing. It isn't coronavirus. That's before I knew that it was coronavirus. I got to tell you something. Since then, I've gotten inquiries from some people in LA. And today I just turned one down because I have to go up to Glendale. It's an indoor show. I don't feel good about that yet. I'm going for my vaccination on Saturday. And I'll feel a little better. And maybe I'm somebody who will double mask because, I don't want to take any chance of being reinfected and dodge a bullet this time. So, but COVID has affected all kinds of things. Pricing.
So what's your experience been with going virtual? Because I know that a lot of these performers up to this point have not had even a social media presence. I know I can name some of the top vents that just don't have one. So going virtual is like a forced shift for them.
As you know, I did more in my social media, a lot thanks to you encouraging me, and your very good, excellent advice. But I never had a problem with it. When this thing first happened and the shows were all canceled, I was talking actually to you and to John Peasy, and I went out and ordered some lights and everything, and ordered a bunch of things. At least one thing I don't really need is a big microphone that I got that maybe I'll eventually sell. Maybe I'll use it. But and so I had a phone call from somebody who wanted a virtual inquiry on the internet. Somebody in San Francisco who wanted me to do a family show. It was like the very end or third week of March. And I decided to do it because you're not going to you can't start till you start. Sitting around and waiting for the phone to ring and saying, "Oh, I'm not going to look perfect," and "Oh, this isn't right." That's not the way I would do something. I figured, look, I'm going to do it. I didn't even know what to price it at, so I gave them a price break, but I didn't give the show away. And I said,
I love that though. And I have to interrupt you because you see so many performers on these Facebook groups that would like spend their days complaining versus like reroute it and then like figuring out how to deal with it.
That does me no good. I'll talk more about that later.
Yeah.
But what I did was I did that first virtual show and they liked it. And another guy who was going to start like a sort of TikTok thing with families for Asians. It was all Asian. Some of the people were in China. I did 2 shows for him, and he was testing it out. Was going to send me money. He never sent any money, but he said he liked it. So I just decided, I'm not going to worry about that because like the virtual camp I did, they loved it, and I had a lot of invitations for virtual shows. And I just adjusted to it. As I said, there's no reason to say that you can't interact with Zoom. Yes, you can interact with Zoom. You can see
Right.
people's names. You're not in the same room with them. You can make jokes to them. You can say, "Hey, what do you think of blah blah blah?" I bring out a dog puppet. Even with adults, I'll say, "How many of you have a dog?" Because I'm interested. What kind of dogs they have, and they tell me, and then my dog starts in. And so I'm always interacting with people.
That's such an interesting thing. Do you think that you can connect with audiences in a different way than you could?
In a different way. You connect. The weirdest request I had was a show. That was after I got COVID or right before COVID? Before COVID, I believe, right before COVID. And it said corporate show. It wasn't really a corporate show. It was 13 people. And they were based in Atlanta, Georgia. And they said they wanted a real adult show, real adult humor. I mean, not art. And I told people, including you, when I experimented with that, it wasn't true to form and I stopped doing those shows. But I was thinking, they only want 15 minutes. What would it be like if I customized a 15-minute show and tried those jokes? Could I pull it off? Would it actually work or would it bomb? So I held my breath and did it. And I spent a lot of time preparing. I customized it with different names, with the backgrounds. I use jokes that I have not used in like more than 20 years.
When you say customize a show, you have your basic, like 45 minute to an hour show?
This was only a 15-minute show.
Oh, but I spent 15 minutes. So this was from the ground up that you were creating.
Yeah, and they wanted a tight 15 minutes. And I went through everything. I spent hours going through stuff, but also that I had my customization forum. Does anybody have any catchphrases, anything about somebody, blah, blah, blah. Once I got that, I was able to either make jokes directly to them or do some really X-rated put-down lines, because I have the book of the Friar Roast lines, and it inspired me to write some jokes. I always write better jokes than when I take a joke. And they loved it. They absolutely loved it. And that was an experiment. But I know normally, in other words, I wouldn't make a career of doing those shows, but I was interested to see what would happen if I did it. So it was sort of testing the waters.
I love that. Yeah, testing something different.
Everything I'm doing, the stuff I do on TikTok, those aren't art. In fact, I got to tell you, the one I did last night where I'm wearing my college T-shirt, I must have spent 2 hours on that thing because I didn't like the way it was, and I hated it, and I hated it. Finally, I thought, you know what? It's good enough, and I see some lip movement, which I normally don't do, and a couple of things I didn't like with figure. And I said, you know what? A lot of people like it, and I put it up, and I got ready to remove it, but I noticed a lot of people really like it, so it stays up. But again, what did I get out of that? There's one joke I wrote in there that I'm going to use in most of my shows. I really like the joke, and so I'm experimenting. I'm part of the experimentation with in this era is if you're doing a show on Zoom, you can record it and go back and see what you did. But you also can see how you interact to an audience, how do they react. You can keep it all muted, but then you might decide you want to keep it on to hear the laughter. I've gotten jokes when I did the kids shows because the kids shouted something out. I thought, God, that's a great line. I've got to put that in all my shows,
Sure. Well, that's an interesting thing. You talked about TikTok, and what I love about TikTok too is that I've been able to test characters.
Yes,
and some of my, I have Bill the Zombie that I introduced on TikTok, and I hammered out that character and jokes for it, and then I performed with it, and I got the same feedback from the audience that I did from TikTok. So it was like it was a real staple for me in proving that it was a testing ground. What do you set up and say, I'm going to write this many jokes for this TikTok, or do you do part of your show?
Sometimes some of it'll be, I get a crazy idea. Like I wanted the Axtel Dinky, are they called? Because it was a cheetah, and I had one really corny joke that I wanted to do the cheetah, maybe 2 that I'll stick in, and I'm going to do that one tomorrow. And that hit me, and a lot of times I'll take a joke. I had this wonderful, my first version of John Raven that was made by Chuck Jackson, which you've seen.
John Raven
And
is Joe's main hard figure.
yeah. And I replaced that. Chuck Jackson later made ones with wiggling ears. They have much more expressive faces. And I thought I lost that one for about 20 years, and I discovered it buried in my garage somewhere in a case. But it was in terrible shape. And Chuck had always said, this would make a beautiful girl dummy. I thought, why not? And since Scott and Lisa Land have done amazing work on my figures, I'm just amazing. I sent it to them, and they repainted it. They put a wig on it. Lisa Land took a lot of time dressing it. All the time, anytime a woman or a girl they say, "Oh my God, look at your beautiful shoes and your dress." So she really spent a lot of time on that. And I never used it except in walk around a couple of times. So on TikTok, I thought, I wonder if I can come up with a routine. And I had a couple of quick ideas for jokes. And I did a very tight, because you can't go more than a minute. And I liked that a lot. I liked that. And I later did that routine on virtual shows, and it was extremely popular. Now, the wonderful troll you made me, I've had a thing, Joel the Troll. And I've had a couple of jokes about him being on the internet as a troll. I can have 3 or 4 of these things. And I had an idea. What if I tried to expand that in 58 seconds? Because I tried to go 58 seconds. What would that be like? So I'm going to try it. If it bombs, I'll never do it again. But maybe I'll come with some jokes that I like to use on my show.
Sure.
It'll only be 58 minutes. And so I've experimented with some things with John Raven. I had that crazy idea of putting a mustache on and that awful jacket with plaid and be my Uncle Schmozy. And some people really liked it. I thought it was really lame, but people liked it. So I may do some more with that. The pizza puppet that I did from Axtel.
Yes.
Which I love. That's the first time I ever did a routine with that puppet, when I did that on TikTok. And that proved to be just everywhere, any place that I put it. That was one of my most popular short videos that I did. And I put something on my Facebook page saying, I wonder if I should even keep doing these videos, because here's why I do them. And I got a lot of people saying, no, please do it, because it brightens the day. And I had
you share your TikToks to your Facebook and Instagram, right?
And my Instagram. Yeah. I mean, my Instagram I haven't done much with, but I'm starting to see I'm getting more followers the more stuff I put up. Yeah. But if I do a TikTok, it's not just, some of them I could do within a minute or two, but because I'm really a perfectionist, there's a certain amount that I would ever even put on the internet. I can spend too much time on it until I get it somewhere close to what I want.
Well, Joe, what I think is really neat is, we talked about virtual shows being, having this
it's an opportunity
between you and your audience and performing and being able to, like you talked about, who has a dog. And, it's almost like you get some of that with TikTok, and seeing, them say, once you get back to doing shows saying, yeah, I'm on TikTok and I'm on Instagram. They're like, oh, really? And then they go follow you. And, I'm sure it could generate more leads, but also it's, it's growing your fan base and allowing them to stay in touch with you. And I just think that's so cool.
I'm enjoying all the stuff I'm doing on social media. And of course, I started my YouTube channel, and that was one that I did stuff that weren't in my show. My favorite one is the one about the Cars for Kids song, which is and you did the editing, which was absolutely masterful. I don't know, we've got a mind meld here.
We do. We have a fun time. You film a bunch of crazy stuff, and then
you need to pray in church that you're not melded with my mind. The mind meld. It was exactly, and that's my favorite one of the ones that I did. And now here's an example of TikTok. I did something using the Chuck Jackson figure. Actually, it needs to be repaired a little more because the mouth clicks. The army guy, and I did some a couple of days ago, and I almost removed that video. I hated it, but when I saw the routine up there, I thought, is that really one I want to expand into a YouTube or not? And I'm sort of holding on that one. I didn't think I really wanted to expand that one when I looked at it. It played better up here it played better in concept than in execution, I thought.
So what is your difference for TikTok and YouTube videos?
Well, I can only go 58 seconds or not 60 seconds on TikTok.
Right.
And I like the idea that I don't have, like, when I did my night before Christmas routine, which somebody videoed, and that went on my YouTube page. Again, I looked at that and said, I don't like the way I did it at all, because my glasses were broke. I couldn't read the cue cards because I revised it so much. It's a routine I copyrighted in 1992. And I revised it, and I didn't like the way I did it at all. And maybe in a couple of years, I'm going to go back and redo it. So I can go 3 minutes, whatever I wanted to do, because who says it has to be a minute? It could be 2 minutes, for
Yeah.
short for a video. So I'm thinking of other things with that.
What are your thoughts on, post-COVID and everything, everything kind of getting back to normal?
Before you get into that, we ought to talk about what COVID has done to this industry on pricing.
Yeah,
it is ludicrous.
Because you've got a lot of different. I mean, I know maybe 2 ventriloquists in Texas, and that's it. That might be in conflicting markets, but I mean,
no, it's on virtual shows. All right.
Oh yeah.
And I've had people. First of all, it is over the place. This group I work with in San Diego that books me in the libraries that thought they'd go under, but they're not going to go under. I was talking with the guy who runs it, and he said because somebody leased, like, they wanted a pre-recorded show of mine, an anti-drug show. They didn't have one, so we went and recorded it.
Mm-hmm.
In that instance, he could pay for it through the group, and I pay him back as it's aired.
Sure.
And so that one ran for a week in San Diego, and they liked it. And I think he charged like $350 for that thing to run for a week, licensed it for $350. But he said, Joe, there are people who don't want to use the show because there's people saying to license them for a show for a week for $75 or $100. It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
Now I have somebody else asking for my pro reading show. That one they're not going to underwrite, so I'm going to have to take money out of a special bank account to pay for that one. But I'm going to do it. But I could do that, and within 12 months, nobody wants recorded shows. So you could lose money with this. But here's what's happening. I got somebody call me or email me because she wanted a virtual show, and I went through all the stuff with her on the virtual show.
Mm-hmm.
And then she called me on the phone. She says, well, I'll have you know, somebody else said they'd do it for $1 less.
Are you serious?
And I'm sorry, I have a very short fuse, but I've been in therapy for years, so I'm very good at dealing with it. I said, well, I said, I'm sorry I can't help you because my prices are already way below my normal prices because these are virtual shows.
Mm-hmm.
And but I'm finding, for me at least, when I'm giving my regular price, they're not taking regular prices on the virtual shows. They need something a little less. But I've had things where a school wanted to use me. They're all excited about doing it. She said, I'm sorry, we've got somebody local who can do it a lot lower than you. I've had a lot of that happen. So there's people that are really underbidding.
And most of the time, just for our audience, most of the time, the quality of the show or the performer is not taken into account. It's more,
they're price shopping. They're price shopping. Yeah. They don't care. I must say, I once had somebody call me for a birthday party show. So that's the rudest I ever got. Somebody called me for a birthday. He said, how much is your birthday party show? And I told him, he said, really? He said, well, I should quit my job and work for money for doing something like that. Are you kidding? Something as ridiculous as that? I said, well, thank you very much. Have a nice day. Click.
Have you experienced people that are maybe outside of your area that have become competition because of the virtual show aspect?
Yes, I'm sure. Yeah. I've seen there was a virtual show that I was up for that somebody else got for a corporate. It's like some people want meat, some people want fish. They could see my website and demos and not like it. Whereas just this week, this woman in San Francisco is going to have it's more like a school show, a birthday party on the 13th. And she's going to have close to 45 kids from the class of the private school there. She went to my website and loved the website. She loved the characters. She looked at everything online about me, and she's really excited about the show. But somebody else could go and say, I don't like the website. I don't like this. People have different tastes, and that's not just showbiz, but business.
Yeah.
I've never lowered my price to get a show away from somebody else, and I've never badmouthed somebody because of somebody else to get a show away from somebody else.
Yeah. Well, it's a difficult thing. I haven't experienced that here, but I haven't been doing it as long as you have, and there's a lot more competition in your area, even just with ventriloquists.
San Diego, yes.
Not even mentioning like how many entertainers there are that do your same market. So like in terms of thinking in the future, do you think that things will get back? Do you think there's a level of COVID worry or precaution that will always be there when hiring entertainers, or do you think people will get back to this? I think were there opportunities that you had that were like yearly shows that you would do that you no longer can do looking forward, or like what's changed for you?
No, I think, especially now I look up where I'm going to get my vaccine on Saturday. I've been trying for months to get a vaccine.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to get it. I can't wait to get my vaccine. Fortunately, they give this one in the arm and not but anyway. So I'm going to, I think that it's going to start coming back. And I think it's going to be like inching back as far as
Sure.
shows. Festivals, fairs will start to come back. I had one woman who booked me for the yacht club show, and she prepaid everything. And she said, Joe, we have to, she was going to try doing it again with a smaller audience. And she had to cancel due to COVID. She said, Joe, don't refund any money. When we get back up, as soon as we're back on, come and do the show. So, and my other client that I used for so many years, she was pretty upset that they couldn't do their normal office party. So there's people rearing up and ready to go if they can do it. So I think it's going to probably, I'm suspecting that by the summer, some of it's going to start inching back. It may not come totally back. And then I think that even when shows come back, there are going to be people who are going to want to keep doing virtual shows. They like the idea of doing something at home rather than having doing a big party. So I think some of that's going to remain. I think it's going to be a much longer time before a lot of fairs come back. Although in Texas, they were still doing fairs. Some other states, festivals may still have something of a hard time, but they're going to come back. I'm convinced.
Do you think people will still do virtual shows even when normal shows get back?
Yes. Some people will like the idea of doing a show in their home. There's always something that remains. And this is something some people may like. The idea of having a show. They want to do a party. Maybe they can't do it for some reason. Why not do a virtual show?
And do you think it's too late to begin doing virtual shows if you've been holding off and you feel worried about it, or I don't think I can do it, or this or that, or it takes too much time? What's your take on it to someone that might be, inching toward it?
I've said this guy does the libraries. He kept saying to me, well, Joe, you shouldn't do a virtual show now for a library. You're not set up. You'll need this. You need to pre-record. I said, look, I just did a virtual show. If I don't have something pre-recorded, I'll put my backdrop on. It'll be like my normal live show where I'm inundated with puppets, pulling puppets out right and left, but I can use my backdrop. You can't start until you start. Right. Sitting around contemplating your navel or whatever forever. Oh, there are no shows and I can't do this. And oh, when's the phone going to ring again? What am I going to do? I can't wait to go back to normal shows. And not trying to do something about it is lunacy. First of all, as somebody who's in therapy, it helps keep you going if something you're trying to do with your time. But also, you're getting your name out there. You're letting people know you're available. Maybe they don't use this time. They may use you next time.
Yeah, and I'm sure that them seeing how you're being resourceful and finding ways to still get gigs and staying current and everything with your shows, also kind of gives they're like, oh, that's pretty cool that he's still doing shows while so and so was totally out of the game now.
I had a Jewish group that she emailed me, said, Joe, she was going to do a live one after this was in December. She said, Joe, are you still doing your ventriloquist? I said, I most certainly am. That made me think, gee, she didn't get my card all of these years. I'm notorious for sending out these postcards, and so she booked my show for one of these very religious groups, the Chabads, and I love the Chabad groups. And she was going to do it outside because there's the Christmas tree lighting. So the really Orthodox Chabads, they've started menorah lightings, and they get people there, and it's a very wonderful ceremony, family ceremony. So she was all set to have me. She's going to socially distance carefully with masks for the audience. So she finally called me up right before and said, Joe, I hate to do this to you. And I said, let me guess, you're canceling. She said, yes. So please forgive me. I said, no. I think you made a good decision. She said, I can't in good conscience have those people out there. If even one person gets sick, it just bothers me. And I said, well, actually, you made a very good decision. And so she's somebody who just figured she couldn't do it. Right. So, but I think that a lot of people really want to get back to live entertainment. Realize there's event planners, not just event planners, people who did corporate event planners, supply. There's so many industries that were bent that were depending on these live events, and they can't wait to get back open. And a lot of cities that did festivals, they got money from the festivals, made tax money and people coming in. So
I think you're completely right.
Sitting around and complaining on your butt, all you're going to do is get a sore butt, and you're going to be somebody who needs to get in therapy like I'm in. if you do that all day. It doesn't work.
Well, I want to tell our audience to remember to share this video, and to also thank Joe for being on here with Landon Live and for keeping us updated on what it's like in San Diego, California, with COVID and shows and all of that. Joe, where can people find you to follow you on social media?
I have a lot of things. Well, first of all, on my regular website is www.familyentertainer.com. There's a bunch of things I have to change on that right now. I'm gonna do on Instagram. It's Comic Vent Joe. On on TikTok, it's at Joe Gandelman.
Okay. Fantastic. Awesome. So go follow Joe Gandelman, see what he's up to and the days to come. And Joe, thank you so much for being on here.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
All right. Take care, guys.